guys. Excuse me. I don't own this property. I rent here, but my landlord came over about a half hour ago. He wonders whose car this is. It's illegal to park here. It is, yes. This is first private property. It's been fine all day, but she was just out here like a half hour ago wondering whose car this was. I don't want to see you guys get towed. I seem like good guys. And this is private property. I'm sure there's some other places open. All right. Sorry about that.
All right, why isn't this working? All right, I don't know if anybody can see me or not. Can anybody hear me? Anybody see me? All right, can people see me? It's not coming up here. Okay, it's working fine. I just can't see myself for some reason over here. As long as you can hear me and see me. Yeah, you obviously heard me go outside. Here's what happened. This is, I guess, the pre-show, being that we got 5 minutes. Couple young guys came and parked right in front of my place, like right out here, about 2 o'clock today. Now the thing is that it's illegal to park. You know, this is private property where I live. And these guys came earlier today and parked out there, and I was in the middle of something. I was going to say something to them, and then I forgot. And then they were gone like all day. And just as I was starting this video, they came back, and I told them, you know, which was true. I told them that my landlord was out here earlier wondering whose car that was. And I told him, you know, she was thinking about who's parking here. It's going to get towed. So they went and moved it. I was just trying to save them some trouble. So that's what you heard me doing if you came online right at that second. They just happened to walk back to their car when I started this video, and I thought, you know what? I don't want to see these guys, you know, and I told them, you know, probably this time of night you can find a parking place anywhere out here because parking is tough to find. So, can everybody hear me and see me? Is everything good? Some people are saying a little feedback or something. Carla says, I saved the Mattel. I try to be a nice guy. I try to be. I just want to make sure that everything's all right for all of you. That's what's most important to me. Can you hear me? And can you see me? We got a few minutes here before game time. Just kind of getting stretched out a little bit. And I think Sheree being here at some point. We haven't had any trolls in a while. I'm not saying I'm disappointed by that, but it is kind of nice. Okay. So, it's all good. Okay, James and Carla and Laura and Courtney and Jessica and Sharon and hey Sharon and D. Hey D, what's going on? D with all the great camel pictures. Let's see. Let me change this to live chat. Okay. All right. So almost time for the show. Little bit of an echo. Okay, Layla. I turned off the shouldn't be getting any echo now. I turned off everything but I turned off all the audio. I can't hear myself talk. So I hope everything is good. Hello, Ann. What's going on? Who was first tonight? Carla. All right. We got some good people in here. Okay. Let me go way up here. Okay. D. Yeah, there's D with her smile. What's going on? Oakley Fight Club. Is there actually a fight club in Oakley? What's going on, Cindy? You probably just jinxed the troll situation. Yeah, you might be right about that, Jessica. I didn't think about that. That's probably true. Got a good show for you tonight. Got a lot to cover. Of course, some breaking news and a couple disappearance cases. Let me shut off the air conditioning. You know, that is going to be one of the nice things when I move to this new place, because my air conditioning unit, I have like one of those in-wall or in-window units. It sits like right there. What'll be nice is when I record episodes and do the shows, when I get to my new place, won't have to shut off the air conditioning. That's going to be very nice. Susan is here. Okay, and Tammy, I see some transcribers in here tonight too. Getting some good work done for the books. I cannot thank you all enough. I see a lot of familiar names as transcribers in here tonight. Thank you. Layla, oh sure, dry goodbye air conditioning. Didn't know it was going to come across like that, Layla. Okay. So yeah, you should probably be able to hear me better now, but once I move to the new place, because it's more kind of a central air conditioning situation, that it won't be blowing right here, which is where you see me sitting, is where I record all of the episodes. Right here at this table. It's not really a desk, but at this table, and the air conditioning's right there, so it makes it a little difficult. All right, people, all right, no more talking about the AC for the rest of this episode. Okay. Gotti, I'm on the TV tonight, Rekka? Really? My dad has one of those smart TVs too. He can watch YouTube on his TV. That's kind of cool. All right. Okay, let's get started. Got a little special, you know, this Friday's episode is going to be a little special. Had some things come up with some interviews that I was supposed to do this week, so instead I'm going to surprise you with something, but you're not going to find out what the surprise is until the episode is we get to the end of this. What's up, Carrie, with her shiny badge? I will let you know at the end of this episode what the surprise is for Friday's episode. Rachel, AW, Leah, no super chat option. No, I haven't set that up, Leah. The reason is because the YouTube channel has to be monetized to be able to do super chat. And right now, Unfound is not able to be monetized because some of the early episodes have copyrighted music on them or copywritten music on them. And so to be able to monetize, I have to go back to those old episodes and change the music. That's the reason. So no super chat for this, or I would surely have it. Jen, new subscriber, found your podcast on Spotify, obsessed with the episodes. Thank you, Jen L. I love hearing about obsessions. It's a healthy obsession. Don't worry about it. All right. So, April Fools, or April 1st, did anybody get fooled? Anybody have a really, really, really good prank pulled on them? I haven't been fooled about April Fools in years. Maybe I'm just a little too aware of it. I'm just wondering if any of you had a really good prank played on you. If you did, please type it in the chat section if you want to own up to it. Or maybe you played a prank on somebody else. So tell us about that too. So either way, why don't you can post that in the chat if you feel like it while I am going through the things that we got to cover tonight. Is Diane in here? Diane, I don't know if you go by your real name or not in here. Diane's wondering if I cleaned my keyboard. I did clean my keyboard. Okay, you got fooled into working, Carrie. I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. I did not play on that disc golf tournament on Sunday. Too much work to do. Just too much. In addition, these days I'm kind of a night owl, which means I'll be up to midnight or 1 in the morning, and then I won't get up till, like, just to be honest, like 9 or 10. There's no way I was getting up to drive an hour and 40 minutes to go play in a tournament. That was the other thing. So I didn't go play. I told you last week I was going to go play. I didn't go play. I got work done instead, and it was a productive Sunday. Nope. And almost 40 people had. Yeah, well, Carla, we should get up easily into the 60s and 70s of viewers. A lot of people view this after it's, played live. Jen says, I teach first grade and brought my students brownies. Then they once thought they were disappointed I pulled out the real brownies. Oh, Jen, that's an awesome one. Brownies and brownies. I love it. That's a good one, Jen. Good for you. I'm sure the kids loved it. Love brownies. Brownies are really good. D, we told our roommate my husband was missing. Now that is just down and dirty, D. Just down and dirty. Okay, D. But, so I did not play in the tournament, and you guys can just keep talking about your April Fool's stuff. I am down to 179 pounds. I've officially lost over 10 pounds since I came back here to Florida from Pennsylvania. Workouts are going really good, seeing a lot of change. I don't know if anybody else is trying to get back in shape out there and lose some weight, get to the gym or whatever. But it's going really well for me, and I cannot thank my personal trainer, Blake, enough. Good guy, really pushes me, and I cannot thank him enough. But I'm down to 179 pounds for 2 days in a row. And the good thing about Wednesdays, besides YouTube Live, it's only 2 more days to cheat day, which is good. What's going on? I messed with my mom, Jasmine says, and kept turning off her TV with my phone. Jasmine. Wow. Thank you, Courtney. That is down and dirty too, Jasmine. Playing around with your mom like that. Ooh, baby, turning the TV off with your phone. That's funny. Thanks, Carl. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks, Jen. Volume 5 is almost finished. Had I not run into some interview issues within the last 24 to 48 hours, it would be finished. But some things pop up, and I will tell you about those at the end of the show. But all I have to do, I'm proofreading Volume 5 now. So everything's assembled, all the writing's done and everything, all the transcriptions are in there. Now I'm proofreading it, correcting spelling mistakes, correcting some formatting errors, things like that. But Volume 5 will definitely be done by this week. And like I said, it would have been done by today. Just some things popped up and it came out really good. The interviews, of course, are really good. Transcriptions were done right. Got a lot of good information in them, a lot of good observations about the cases in this book, Volume 5, that will be out on Amazon in a few days. Anybody got any questions for me? Really kind of got to it a little late tonight. Usually I like to post that questions post about an hour before. Got to it a little late. Anybody has any questions about anything they want to ask me about? A little bit of a free-for-all. Please do, and I will try to answer it during the course of this show. Carl, I appreciate that. I don't mind farming out the transcriptions, and of course those people are getting paid and some perks along with some other things. But when it comes to the proofreading, Carla, that's really something I got to do myself. I think at some point it pays to, really take some ownership in it instead of letting other people do it. I did that with the first book, and that was okay. But, and I'm not saying I'm a perfect proofreader, but I just like to, handle it myself. But I'll think about it, Carla. I promise you I will think about it. LaFord is in here. I'm glad to see it. The poll for this past episode of Travis Murrow's, I thought that I'm going to be honest with you. As you know, I give it 100% on every episode. But being that we were able to combine Christy's interview and then getting to talk to Scott and then the maps that I think, that were posted both on Instagram and in the Unfound podcast discussion group and on the page, it felt like a really, really complete episode. Really, because the maps and the directions and everything were so important to that case. And if you haven't seen the poll in the discussion group, you should know that what I'm going to say, 90% of people do not believe that Travis parked his truck where it was eventually found, which is something, for once, the group and I agree that I don't believe his truck was parked there either by himself. I think it was parked there by someone else. Who that person is, that's up for debate. But I believe, like most of you do, that somebody else besides Travis parked the truck there. D, anything new on any cases? Well, D, we're going to talk about that later in the program. Michelle, howdy from Texas. What's going on, Michelle? Carla, did you get with Travis's family and ask our questions from last week? I did, Carla. And I don't know if I'm at liberty to speak about all of it right at this second, but I think, going back to the poll, I think that it was interesting for them to see how many people realized or decided that Travis did not park his truck there, because I think there's been a thinking amongst Christy and Scott that probably Travis did. And I'm not saying we have to change their minds, but I think that it was interesting for them to get a different point of view from a large group of people. So I thought that that was good. One thing that didn't come out in the episode that somehow I missed, I really didn't even think about it, that makes it even a little bit more, I don't want to think about this, but that bar that Travis said he was going to on that phone call, it's not open on Sundays. So if he was going to meet Melanie, for example, at the bar, they weren't going to meet there to drink. He was having her meet him there for some other reason. That's one of those things you don't even think about questioning a guest about that. You just think, it's Sunday, the bar's open. It's not open on Sundays. So there's that. Leah says, sleep meds just kicked in. I'll watch it work tomorrow. Good night, friends. Oh, well. Okay. All right, Leah. Thank you. That's a compliments toward me tonight. Thank you, Leah. Sleep well. Chloe, I found the YouTube videos on Travis Murray cleared a lot of things up considering I'm not from America. Chloe, I'm glad those maps helped you out. I thought it was very important that I do the YouTube map. In addition to just the static photos, to do a video, I really enjoyed doing that. And you can count on from now on, when it is a question of directions and maps and things, you can virtually guarantee that I will do some sort of video to go along with the podcast. I promise you that. Carla, someone did ask about the bar being open. Yeah, it was not. Katrina just odd that Melanie and Tony refused to clear the names of the polygraph. Well, that may be, but you just, I think they have a lot of other things going on with their lives that maybe think might pop up in a lie detector test. That's possible too. Marcus, good job with the video explaining the routes and locations. It was really helpful. Marcus, you're very welcome. Thank you. Carla says Melanie and Tony are the offenders. That's a very popular opinion, Carla. I'm not going to say I totally disagree with you, but that's certainly a popular opinion. I'm moving, and I'm going to be moving May 1st, and I'm going through boxes one by one. I really don't own a lot of stuff. So it's a very good news that I'm going to be able to move, and I'm going to be able to go through one box of stuff a day. Going to close, and I think this move is actually going to be fairly easy. But you might notice one thing. Let me move this over to the side. Do all of you happen to notice that there are no trophies and disc golf discs on the piano back there? I'm going to be selling this piano. So I had to move everything off of it to take some pictures of it to put it on Craigslist and on Facebook in the marketplace. And we'll see if I can sell it. Pianos, they do not hold their value at all. At all. So maybe you noticed the back there, because that's been such a, at least early in this show's life, people were asking me, what are the discs about? What are the trophies for? Well, you'll see back there that they're gone. I had to move them off them. So, and Shuri says, I wouldn't take a lie detector either, especially if I knew I was innocent. Me too, Cherie. All right, so I'm going to be moving. Looking forward to that. You and D or somebody had asked me about some updates on some cases. I'm going to update a few cases right now, but we're going to talk about this later in the program too. That remember the Mary Lands case, and remember, yes, Carla, I do play the piano. I do. Remember how I told you there was going back to the Mary Lands case from a few weeks ago now, that there was this guy, Tim Bryant, who used one of Mary's Land's friends as an alibi. Do you all remember that now? Tim Bryant was a cop. He called Mary's boyfriend about 48 hours after she disappeared, and Tim later claimed that he was with Sue Berkwald when he called. Well, I had a chance to talk to Sue Berkwald yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah. What's up, Joyce? Good to see you tonight. I had a chance to talk to Sue Berkwald yesterday. And to tell you the truth, she ended up hanging up on me. She was not very happy with the episode. She claims that the episode made it look like she was having a relationship with Tim Bryant, which she claims that she wasn't. Of course, she claims she was not in the bar where Tim Bryant was, where he claims he made the phone call. And so a casual conversation turned into a deep conversation, turned into an argument, turned into her hanging up on me. And the part in which she hung up on me was this part. This is exactly what I said to her. Sue, if people think that, the reason they think that is they can't understand how your best friend goes missing, and then you never have the courage to ask Tim Bryant about why he used you as an alibi for his phone call. That's why people think the way they do. And right at about the end of that is when she hung up on me. This is generally how I talk to people who think I'm stupid. So I haven't had, you know what? The last person to hang up on me on the phone, you know who it was? It was, what's her name? Kimberly Kessler's mom from about last April. It's going to be close to a year now that I talked to Kim. Remember that whole fiasco? I'm not going to go through it now, but Kimberly Kessler, the woman who was eventually charged with murder over in Jacksonville, when I was still looking for her, I talked to her mother, and she hung up on me during the round of tough questioning that I was giving her. So, there you go. Smack stinger. I don't know what some of these things mean, but that's funny. But so I got to talk to Sue Berkwald. She was not pleased. And, she started giving me a hard time. And that's what I told her. I would say the conversation lasted about 3 minutes. It gradually kind of got louder and louder and more disagreement, to the point that she wanted out of the conversation. I think, when people hang up on me, and now, I thought that Kimberly Kessler's mom hanging up on me was strange, but then I found out why she hung up on me. With Sue Berkwald, it's kind of the same thing. That when you hang up on a person, to me, you lose the argument. That's why I've never hung up on anybody. And I think I just put too much heat on her in the conversation in those few minutes, so she wanted to get out of it. Cherie says she didn't want to answer the tough question. Carrie says sometimes people don't like valid points. I think it's a very valid point. Carla, people hang up when they are cornered. I agree. Katrina Color, sorry. This would have been the Mary Lands case. Katrina, I'm not going to get into it now. So please, you'll have to go back and listen to the episode because I really do not want to recount the whole thing. But I'm telling you, if you listen to the episode, you'll understand. You will. No, Whitney, I did not call her back. No, No, I did not call her back. My point was made. There's not any other point that I need to make than the one I made to her. That she doesn't understand it. I don't know what to tell you. So I wanted to tell you that. Also, Lacy Buenfil, if you saw, you wanted an update on a case, that there is now a death certificate in her disappearance, which now opens up a lot of new possibilities in her disappearance. Cindy, remember, she is Lacy's mother-in-law, was the guest for that episode. Lacy's case was back in maybe September, October of last year, 2018. And there are now new investigators on the case, and Cindy is very excited about that. In fact, we linked in the discussion group to an interview that Cindy did with Orlando TV just recently. So there are positive things going on in that case. Cindy told me some other things that I don't think I can talk about, but I can tell you that the death certificate has been issued. And so, you know, that opens up a lot of different things in a different way that the police are going to look at it. And there's not just one detective investigator on the case. Cindy told me there are 3 now working on it, which is very, very good news. So I want to tell you about that. Maybe some of you already knew that because of the post in the discussion group. If you didn't see that, you can go find it. You can click on the link and watch the video, the news story that they did. And I'm understanding, at least the way the news put it, was that TV station in Orlando really facilitated the death certificate part of it. So that's great. I'm glad to hear it. Carla, I'm so glad people are getting cases reopened. Good job, Unfound. Keep the heat on. Yeah, I'm not sure that I had a lot to do with it. You know, I'm very honest about that stuff. Okay, there's no reason for me to toot Unfound's horn. I will tell you if I think Unfound had something to do with it, and I'll tell you if I don't think it did. It might have assisted, maybe gave Cindy some confidence, maybe getting out into the media a little bit more. If it's just something like that, then that's great. That's great. I happen to believe that Lacy's case will eventually be solved. I think it will be. Don't know when. And then Devin Brown Busetta. There's another case that since Unfound's coverage, if you can just believe it, that was what, 3 weeks ago that we covered that disappearance. Of course, I helped the Trib in Pittsburgh cover that case at the end of last year. A lot going on in that case. You should know that Wilshire eventually did get the phone records. The police do have the phone records. That was something that came up during the interview. The police have the phone records, and they told Wilshire what is on them. So things are going real positively. I can't say what are on the phone records, but here I will tell you this. The last phone call that Devin made was not to anybody that popped up in the interview. And in fact, I don't know if this person should be considered a suspect or not, but it wasn't her husband, Hamed. It was not the father of her child. It was somebody else. It was somebody that has never come up in any discussion I ever had with Wilshire until she told me about it just a few days ago, but I'm not at liberty to say who it is. But knowing who it is now, this could really take the case in a different direction than even we could have guessed just from a few weeks ago. So, and I really, in that case, I don't know if Unfound had anything to do with it, but I really believe that the reason that Devin's case has gotten so much attention is because of the Trib covering it at the end of last year. And I emailed Steve Huba, even though we don't work together anymore. I told him, you know, what's going on, that, and I think he was happy to hear it. I really believe that it was the Trib coverage that really moved that case along and has allowed Wilshire to have one-on-one conversations with somebody in the police department who is helping. So, Susie, so very many new people to Unfound. So exciting to have new members each week. Good for all. Thanks for the great job you do. Thanks you, Susie. A lot of people saying that's interesting. Oh, wow, that's crazy, Carrie says. Yeah. It was, you know, I once again, I wish I could say more. I just can't. And, you know, I love all of you. And I appreciate you tuning in. But I know that Wilshire told me some of these things in private. And I think I don't want to ruin something because the person who is last on the list, I don't want them happened upon the episode or something and then to know that the police are going to come talk to them. So I don't want to do that. So we're just going to leave it at that. That it's somebody new, that it could explain why her car was parked where it was, and a few other things. So there you go. So we have some movement, you know, in a very recent case. You never know what's going to happen. You just never know. And I love to hear it. Katrina says, hate to jump the gun if you planned Ed to bring it up, but 3 bodies found dead in Texas, Oklahoma, and Texas recently. Also, according to Klein with Tom Brown, he has pretty much done all he can. Still no arrest. You know, I think it was Cherie who told me something about Phil Klein went to Wichita, Kansas or something to talk to somebody. I don't know about any of this. I really, I think it was Cherie that brought it up to me. Cherie can verify if she was the one that I was talking to somebody about it, and I really don't know a lot about it. I don't know who lives in is it Wichita Falls? Is it Wichita, Kansas? I don't know. I don't, and I haven't talked to Penny about it. Just to be totally honest with you, I've not talked to Penny about it. So I just haven't had time. Gina from South Carolina. Is that SC? Is that what that is? My first live chat. Great job. Thank you. Would love you to cover the Heather Elvis case. Gina, if you contact me personally, or you can contact my assistant, Emily, in the group on Facebook or whatever, we will be glad to give it our best shot. In Kansas. Okay. Carrie, I hope she keeps us posted as she can. That is exciting news about Devin Wilshire. I think so, Carrie. Thank you. What's up, Stacy? So Wichita Falls it was, Sharish. Wichita Falls. Okay. You know, some of you are obviously going to know more about it than I do. Once again, simply because I have a lot going on. I got the book going on, putting together this week's episode because it kind of did not go the way I wanted this week, but that's fine. So it's Wichita Falls. I don't know what to make of it. If I did, I'd tell you. But Wichita Falls, in no discussion I've ever had with Penny or anyone else regarding the case, has that city ever popped up in any of my discussions. So I don't know. So we talked about Sue Burkwald hanging up on me, Lacy Buenfil, Devin Brown Busetta. Well, now you know we have to talk about, and I don't know what to think about these bodies in Texas. I really don't, Dee, so I'm not going to go. I have some things to talk about that I actually do know about. So there you go. I want to talk about Maura Murray. Yes, we're going to talk about her again. If you saw the news, we talked about it, what was it, a month ago? That about, there was news out there that dogs had hit on some house near where she disappeared from. And there was x-ray or radar, whatever it was, ground penetrating radar that showed something weird in the basement of this house. And what did I tell you at the time? I really don't think it's anything. And I gave you the reasons why. Well, they went down into that basement over the last couple of days, and guess what? It's nothing. Now, I want you to know, I'm not happy about that. Okay? I want Maura Murray's case solved as much as anybody out there. And I don't care what the circumstances were. I don't care if she committed suicide or ran off or was murdered. I'd love for it to be solved just like all of you would. But when I hear things that don't sound right to me, I'm going to tell you. And I'm not afraid to go out on a limb. And I'm not afraid to be wrong. But I know that a lot of you come to me for my opinions on these cases that Unfound doesn't cover, because you want my take on it, because I do have the experience that I do. And it just didn't smell right to me. It just didn't. My opinion was that if the police thought it was real back in November when this first all popped up, they would have done something at the time. Just like they did something right away in Zoe Campos' case. When Carlos Rodriguez said, yeah, there's something under the slab. They were out there within hours. Whereas in Maura's case, it was months later and they still hadn't done anything. Just tells me they weren't too sure about the information and they ended up being right. And Marcia says, yes, I wish they had found her today. Carla says, I'm a Maura Murray fanatic. Okay, Carla. Carla says, you come from that area where she disappeared? Okay, Carla, well, I certainly understand that. I realize that there's the natural inclination to be suspicious of somebody who won't let the police come into their house. But you can think of all sorts of reasons why people would not want police, and not all of them have to be criminally based. You know, I can imagine, I've never owned a house. Yes, I'm 48 years old, and all I've done is rented. But if I owned a house that I just bought, and it could be involved in a disappearance, let's just say. Here's what I would want to know before the police came in and started doing anything. If you come in and damage anything, are you going to pay for it? If you have to dig up my basement, are you going to put it back to the way it was before you started doing the work? Who's going to do the work? Who's going to pay for it? These are the things, and I realize I'd be as much concerned about a missing person case as anybody in the world. But those are things that, you know, you need to work out. And so if you're a stranger and you haven't been involved in the missing persons community like I have, and you're just minding your own business, and police want to come knock on your door and they say, well, we would like to dig up your basement because, and you know there's nothing down there, but then, you know, dogs and ground penetrating radar say there is, you can realize why somebody would be a little hesitant to allow that to happen. So Courtney says her father is devastated. I think he believed it would be something. Courtney, I feel horrible for him, but I also believe, you know, in fact, I'll tell you this, being that volume 5 of season 1 is coming out in a few days, the last chapter in every book is titled What I've Learned. Something I've learned about the missing persons cases, like an overall theme since I started doing this. The theme for the chapter for this book is people need to be more honest with missing persons families. Okay? Because what I've encountered is a lot of families have too many yes men around them. Okay? And to me, this is why this type of thing happens. People get around, maybe they're kooks or whoever else. Yeah, we got to go look in that house. And they get Maura's father all excited. Oh, this is it and everything else. Whereas it's obvious to me that Maura Murray's father does not have somebody like me around him. If I was a confidant of Mr. Murray, I would have pulled him aside and I said, I think you got to lower your expectations here. And here's why. And I would detail for him my experience. It's obvious to me that he doesn't have somebody around him. Why? Because a lot of these cases bring in a lot of kooks who see a profit motive, who see a way to get in the news, etc. All right? And I realize he's devastated, and it sucks. But it's no different, and I think I even used this example in the chapter, talking about a guy like Prince, the musician, a musician we all love. The reason he's dead is because he had a lot of yes men around him. People who would not have the courage to say to him, you know what, Prince, you shouldn't be doing that fentanyl. You shouldn't be doing those opiates. It's going to kill you. Everybody was too worried about a paycheck. And I think that's what has happened in Maura Murray's case and too many other missing persons cases. These families need more honesty, even if it hurts. And I'd like to think that that's what I bring to these people. And I think for some of them, it's refreshing. Marcia says, yeah, I would not want them to tear up my basement. Trash and runs, Tammy says. Yes. Who said that? Carla, yeah. Carrie, some are afraid to hurt families beyond what they already are, so they beat around the bush as well. I get it. I get it. I'm not saying that all of them are malicious, but you are doing them no favors. I understand at the beginning when things are happening, managing their emotions. I get it. But at some point, and I don't know when that time is. I don't know if it's a month after or 6 months after or a year after. At some point, people just need to start being truthful. And I'm not meaning a harsh kind of truth. Like, well, the reason they disappeared is because you just need to tell them, you know what, going to the psychics doesn't work. You know, these people, you know, some of these private investigators, don't you know they're shady? Don't you know that person, the only reason they're hanging out with you and trying to get information is so they can go back to their blog and write about it? You know, and they're building, you know, and they're creating all these rumors. That's the only reason they're talking to you and being nice to you. You know. Carla, they could have had a warrant years ago, and then they wouldn't have this problem today. Yeah. Marsha, I think the word summoned back to New Hampshire raised expectations. I agree. Miranda, do you ever think of reaching out to Fred? I'll answer that in a second, Miranda. That's a very good question. Katrina, I know one thing. I would absolutely die if I bought a house and all of a sudden police showed up and needed to tear my backyard or basement for a previous murder. I think we'd all feel like you, Katrina. Chloe says, the truth hurts sometimes. And Carla says, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, on and on and on. You're right. You're right. And, you know, I just think that too many people out there, I mean, you all know this. You don't need to host Unfound to know this. So many of these families run into scammers. People who at first seem like to be helpful, but then they eventually end up being hangers-on and things. And, of course, with the Maura Murray case, it's even exacerbated by all the cliques and factions and jockeying for position that all of these different groups do to try to get attention. So getting back to your question, was it Miranda? Miranda, have I ever thought about reaching out to Fred? I could, but I'm going to be honest, I haven't. All right, I haven't thought about it because you have to remember, you know, I don't know if Unfound would be able to cover anything that hasn't already been covered. I mean, if any disappearance in the 21st century has been covered, it's been Maura's. And, you know, I just wonder at this point, is he ready to do, you know, a in-depth factual interview? You know, moreover, is he willing to listen to what I have to say? I have to say. Not have to say, I don't have to say it, or I must say it, but the things that the opinions I could impart to him. I don't know. But no, I haven't thought about it. And I guess the other point is that Maura's case has gotten so much coverage. You know what? Any attention that I would give to her case would be taking away from a case that hasn't been featured on any TV show, podcast at all. And that's always a consideration when I think about the cases that Emily finds for me, that Cherie finds for me, other people bring to me. That is a consideration. It's not the final thing. It's all put together. So, you know, there's no doubt that covering Maura's case would do gangbusters for downloads and everything else. But, you know, I don't care about that. But I think a lot of people cover her case. Why? Because they know they're going to get downloads and subscribers and everything else. They're doing it for all the wrong reasons. So, don't know. But no, I've never thought about it. People choose money all too often. Joyce says, so right, Carla. Let me see what's going on here. Gina, please let me know how to get in touch regarding a case. Well, you can email me at unfoundpodcast@gmail.com, Gina. Or you can find me on Messenger, or you can find my assistant Emily in the discussion group on Facebook. Any of those ways would work. Courtney, I agree with that. Ed, well said. All the expectations they have playing with people's emotions is so sad. Chloe, they've already been told enough lies by others. People exploit missing persons cases all too often. Carrie, if a PI is worried about getting own name out there, paper news, they're not one for you. They should want the missing's names out there. You're right. Right. Marcus says, I think he'd be willing to listen to you. Well, Marcus, I think that's nice of you to say. I think it's nice of you to say, and and I will take it into consideration. I appreciate that. Fred might reach out to you in the future. It might be the first time the case was presented factually and fairly. And that's the other thing is that you cover Maura's case, you better be ready for the trolls. You better be ready for them. You better be ready because they are out there. Lots of so many kooks. So that would be something that we, myself, Cherie, and Emily would have to prepare for as well. Trolls sneaking into the discussion group and all that stuff. B. Davidson, I just think Maura was a troubled young lady. Whatever happened to her, she didn't deserve. She was a beautiful woman who had a lot on her plate. That's true. Bree, did you miss anything? We were just getting ready to sign off, Bree. No, not really. Bree might have jury duty on Friday. Sorry to hear that, Bree. Katrina, one question about Travis Murrow. Has Canton Lake been searched for a possibility he is or is not in that lake? I don't believe the lake has ever been searched, Katrina. I don't believe it's ever been drugged or anything like that. No. No, I don't think they've come anywhere close to doing that. Good thought. Can't argue with it, but I don't think they've ever come close to that at all. So Maura Murray, the search continues. Just to everybody knows what my personal opinion is on that case is I believe what Maura did what a lot of drunk drivers do. When they wreck their car, they run off. I really do not believe there's nothing that I've ever seen that makes me believe it's anything but that. Okay? I'm not saying I'm the most schooled person on it, but and I know all sorts of rumors. There's a red pickup truck, and then the guy that was driving the bus, and somebody came along, and maybe she had a lover that she was going to meet. All of this stuff. Now, where she was going that night, don't know. But I think that once she wrecked and she was drinking and driving, she took off like a lot of drunk drivers do. And something happened. She got lost. She fell. She hit her head. I've said that all of this money that's been spent, whatever it's spent, digging up that cellar or whatever else, what they should do is they should organize another search. You have to remember something. Maura Murray was a long-distance runner. She could have gone a long way. And if it were me, I would start from square one and do a very, very complete search within a few miles on foot of that area. Now, granted, it's been some years. I don't know what the odds are of finding anything. But I'm going to stick to that she ran off and something happened. Not by someone, but something where she died of the elements, she hit her head, something like that, and she died. Courtney, I live in London, Ontario, dubbed Murder City. There are so many cases here that people need to be aware of. Courtney, I've been in London, Ontario. I've been through there, so I know that city. Marsha, what do you think of the Timothy Pitzen news? Marsha, you just be reading my mind because I'm going to cover it. I'm going to talk about it here in a second. Tara, I think the only searches for Travis have been done privately by friends and family. That is true. Shannon, I hope it's him, but I can't get too excited about this. Oh, regarding Timothy. Carrie, I agree with that. I have a strong feeling that she's in the woods somewhere. Carrie, thank you. Jessica, I agree with the theory, Ed. Jessica, thank you. Marsha. Okay. Timothy Pitzen. Yeah, this was news that I think broke today. I'm going to tell you that I think this is some sort of hoax. Why do I believe that? It's not because kids aren't found and aren't brought back or anything, but, you know, if you go back, and I just had maybe 5 minutes to do this before I started the show, to go back and look over everything that the police deduced about where the mother went and what she did and how, you know, it looked like she had been in a field and it was gravel and everything else. I don't know how you don't come to the conclusion that she killed her own son and left them somewhere. I don't know why her vehicle would have all those things, and I know there was blood in the car, but then they're saying, well, he had a bloody nose before, you know. It's obvious to me that his mother had something wrong with her and, you know, some sort of mental illness, and it's horrible. And we know all the stories about parents who've gotten depressed and killed their kids and themselves. Men who fly off the handle, kill their family, kill themselves. I just think that that's what happened, and I know it sucks. I think what happened is that you're going to find out that this 14-year-old is, you know, has a family somewhere. He's probably missing somewhere right now. There's probably some family out there looking for him, and he might have run across the case while cruising the internet and thought this would be something cool to do. That's what I think. Brie, I hope that boy's Timothy. I still feel so bad for his dad. I'm just telling you what I think. The reason that I, you know, on top of, you know, there being so much evidence back at the time that she most likely killed him, the story the kid tells, he escaped from two heavy or weightlifter type guys, and he ran across the bridge, and you know, he escaped from them. Maybe, you know, this, you know, I'm caught in the same position as I am with Sherry Papini. How many of you really believe her story that she was almost kidnapped? She was kidnapped for a while by two, what was it, Hispanic women, and then she escaped. How many of you believe that? You know, so then how many people believe that Timothy Pitzen has been in the custody of two guys and then he escaped? I'm not saying it can't happen. It just, you know, it's just a little hard to believe. I hope I'm wrong. And if so, it seems to me, I mean, if it is Timothy Pitzen, it then occurs to me that his mother really, 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 really went out of the way to make it look like she murdered him, which I don't understand. So, because she would be doing this before she committed suicide, that's self-evident. But who's to say that somebody didn't stop her before she committed suicide and then all these things were discovered? So, I don't know. But why has, okay, let's me go through some of these statements. Sharon, but why hasn't, I have to go up here. Why does this do this? But why hasn't Maura's body ever been found? Sharon, for the simple fact that she didn't disappear in the middle of New York City. That's why. She disappeared out in the mountains, in the wilderness of New Hampshire. And a body isn't that big compared to the earth. And bodies decompose fairly fast. And it's out in the wilderness. Who knows what the animals do? There's a lot of reasons to explain why she hasn't been found. I mean, look at, what was it, Brandon Barton? Is that the Brian Barton, the guy that disappeared in Federal Way, West Washington? He was he was found 1.5 miles from his house. He was within feet of a parking lot of a church. He wasn't seen for like 13 years. So, I don't know. You know, I just don't think it's as obvious as everyone thinks of going out and trying to find people, but I think it's worth a shot to try to do it again. Cases like J.C. Dugard and Ariel Castro's House of Horrors, anything is possible. If you're going to say anything is possible, I agree with you. Anything is possible. If it's a hoax, that's awful. I agree. Carrie's hopeful but not optimistic. Bree says, I think Timothy's mom was bipolar or something. I could be wrong. Marsha, I wouldn't be shocked If it's a hoax, yes, major depression, tried to kill herself before. I'm wondering about the children's underground. Timothy's story reminds me of the Logan Tucker case. Okay, and Jessica. Let me do it here. What am I doing here? Bree, those kids went missing in my neck of woods. I'm sure they're dead. His dad is sitting in jail because he won't talk. It would be great, but it's doubtful. Has anybody heard the Skelton brother case? I've kind of heard of it. Ed, that's what my husband said about Tim. Okay, D. Bree says, I never believed the Sherry Papini story, to be honest. I don't believe it either. I don't. I have a theory, but I'm not going to voice it here. D says she's close to Logan case. Okay, Katrina says, another story that is horrific is the girl that got into the car, thought it was Uber. Yeah, that's not very good for Uber's business either. No, yeah, just bad. Gotta watch it out there. Gotta watch yourself. Gotta watch yourself. The children's underground passes children around to keep them hid. Yeah, Marcia doesn't believe Papini either. Searching is very difficult. You walk past something and not see it in the woods. It's totally true. Totally true. So we combined a few things there. Maura's still talking about Maura Murray and Timothy Pitzen. I just don't have a good feeling about it. And I'm not a guy that generally goes with my feelings, but there are certain things that I look for in stories like that I don't hear. You know, he ran across from his Ohio, he ran across to Kentucky, and why would he have to run that far? He's 14 years old. I understand he was in the two bodybuilder men, but most 14-year-olds are pretty dang quick, you know. And why did he run across a bridge? If they were in a car, why would he stay on a road? Why wouldn't he run into a mall? Why wouldn't he run into a 7-Eleven? Why would he? All these things start popping into my head. Bobby Adams, I don't know that case, Marcus. I don't know it. Gina says, yes, Katrina, the USC student, that happened an hour away from me. Yeah, it's bad. LaFord girl says, that girl that got in that Uber was from my section of New Jersey. Yeah, just bad. It's just bad. Let me talk about one more news item that I wanted to cover, and then I'm going to reveal to you the surprise for this Friday. I want to talk about this quadruple murder in Mandan, North Dakota. Was that a business? People are being, I have it in my notes here. It seems to me that the police are being unusually tight-lipped about this. This seems like some sort of like somebody going postal, at their work. But they're not calling it a murder-suicide, which leads me to believe the killer's still out there somewhere. But it seems to me that the police are pretty laid back in this case. I'm just wondering if the rest of you, any of you, have thought the same thing. I'm sure at least some of you are familiar with this story. But it happened once again in Mandan, North Dakota a few days ago. And the police said they don't believe it's a murder-suicide. The 4 people who are dead, they don't believe that one of the dead people is the murderer. And the police have said, though, that the public has no reason to be worried. I'm wondering what all of you think about that. The girl that got killed because of the Uber ride, she just got accepted into law school. Yeah. Marsha, I cut my search missing people on the Billy Huddleston case that was on ID last night. Good for you, Marsha. I've only been involved in one search. That was for Stephen Kocher back in April of 2010. I wasn't even 40 yet. Oh my gosh. Where has the time gone? Marsha, search to the missing people firsthand, I meant. Yep, I got it, Marsha. Thank you. But I'm wondering what some of you think about this this quadruple murder in North Dakota. So it has a weird feeling to me. I don't know if the police are telling the truth or they don't know what's going on. Because it seems to me, I mean, to listen to the police, there's somebody out there who just killed 4 people, and the police are like, no reason for anybody to be worried. Okay. Carlos says, very sketchy situation in North Dakota. Yeah, I gotta believe that before this is all over, that this ends up being a murder-suicide situation by one of the people that's already there. You know, I'm guessing that if, you know, I guess what I'm saying is that I'm not saying it would be easy, but fairly straightforward. I mean, so many businesses have video cameras and everything else these days, that security cameras, that it would have caught all of this, and the police would almost automatically know what happened, and they might be able to give a description of the person or at least the car. They haven't done any of this. And the more that goes on, the more I think, you know what, I think they're convinced that it's a murder-suicide situation, but they just haven't come out and said it yet. I'm wondering what you think. Carrie says Sarah Burton's case may have some new info as well. That is of this afternoon. Sarah Burton, you're gonna have, Carrie, you're gonna have to. I'm going to guess that I should be familiar with that case. Just can't keep up with everything. But so that's Timothy Pitzen. That was really all I had. Of course, we got still about 5 minutes to go before we get to the hour. Let me see if anybody has posted any questions for me. Okay, Katrina in the discussion group has asked me if I've looked into the Brandon Lawson case. I want you to know that Emily at one time was in touch with somebody in his family. I forget who it was. Emily would remember it probably better than I would. But I would love to make that happen. Emily put some feelers out to them. I think they got back to her, but I'm not sure. I can't remember what happened. This was a while ago, though. This would probably been, I'm going to say that I was in Pennsylvania. So sometime in December, January, I think maybe she had tried to do something with it. Obviously, case I'll take a look at. My opinion on that case isn't very exciting. I don't hear 2 people in that phone conversation when he calls 911. I think he ran off. So, but I'll give it my best shot. And we'll see. I will ask Emily after we're done with the show. I will ask her where that went and if it went anywhere. So I don't know. But that was a question that I got in the group regarding Brandon Lawson. And let me see if I got any questions over here. Just a few seconds. Bear with me. So that was it. No questions tonight. I think I just put up the thing a little too late to remind people. So the surprise, let me just get to the surprise, being that this is where we usually cover the case for Friday anyway. Here's what happened this week. I was pretty sure that I had an interview for this week. However, the guest is going in for back surgery on this coming Monday, and she is suffering greatly. Okay, and you know, she just told me that, you know, she's in so much pain right now, and she's going to be a great guest. Don't get me wrong. When I have her on the program, it's going to be a great interview, everything. But that's what was planned for this week, but we just haven't been able to put it together. All right, and then another interview that I think that we probably could have set up for this Friday. Unfortunately, that guest, her grandmother, she had to travel to go see her grandmother because I don't think her grandmother is going to make it. So that got in the way of that interview. This is the way things work, you know. The timing on so many of these interviews have to be just right, or they don't happen. And so that's what happened with the 2 interviews that I thought I was going to get to do this week. Just life happens. And so we're going to push them off until next week and the week after, probably. So this Friday, I'm doing another update episode. And I know some of you have been asking for that anyway, but I am currently in the process, of course, of recording it. That I'm going back to the beginning, and I'm going to pick out those cases that have had updates on them since the last update episode I did, which was in July of last year. So anything on any case that Unfound is covered between July of 2018 and this week. And if you can believe it, I'm going to be talking about 36 cases. So in 36 cases that Unfound is covered, there has been new information just since last July, which is only, what, 7 months ago, 8 months ago. So a lot of things, that's essentially over a quarter of Unfound's cases that we've covered. So you're going to be hearing an update episode on Friday, and it's long. It's going to be long. I think it's going to be like 3 hours or something like that. And the theme of the episode is what we leave behind. Because I've been thinking about that a lot since my mother died, since my biological mother died last year, and since my best friend's mother died in July of last year. These women left behind all good stuff. And so the theme is, what are we leaving behind? You know, when I'm not here anymore, what am I leaving behind? Hopefully, it's a bunch of solved missing persons cases. And if they're not solved, I was able to give support to these people, and, you know, in their times of need. And so that is the theme. You know, what is Unfound when Unfound isn't around anymore? And hopefully it's going to be years and years and years it's going to be around. But when it's not around anymore, what is it going to leave behind? So that's going to be the episode for this Friday. LaFour Girl, yes, Ed, I thought the same thing. When they said there's no danger to the public, I thought, how could that be? Regarding the case in North Dakota, yeah, I agree. I don't know what to make of it, LaFour Girl. If I knew, I'd tell you. I don't know. Why doesn't this go the whole way to the bottom? I don't know. But this Friday, you're getting an update episode. So no interviews, and so you're going to hear a lot of my voice. If you think you heard a lot of my voice tonight, wait till Friday. The last update episode was over 3 hours long, and this one's going to be about the same. But there's a lot of good information, a lot of interesting new updates on 36 different cases, which I think is a good number. Bree, I feel so bad that I don't know this case. Bree, what case are you talking about? Billy was found 2 miles from our home. Yeah, fill us in, Marcia. Why does it do this? I don't know. I feel maybe they know something we don't. Marcus, you mean about North Dakota? You're probably right. Police usually do. It just seems to me that if they thought there was a killer out there, that they would have alerted the public. That they haven't done that leads me to believe it's a murder-suicide, but they're saying it's not a murder-suicide, so I don't know. So that's it. A little bit of a shorter show tonight, I guess, than usual. Didn't get a lot of questions. Even I was a little rushed getting everything together tonight because I was on the phone, which I'm a person who I think is going to be a future guest of Unfound. I was on the phone with her to about 8:30, and then I still had to take a shower and, you know, pretty myself up to be on camera tonight. So even I felt a little rushed, so I wasn't able to put together as much stuff, and maybe that's why we're only going for about an hour tonight. Sheree says that's what she thinks is also murder-suicide in North Dakota. Well, we'll keep our eyes on it, and we'll see what happens. So what did we do tonight? I wondered if anybody got fooled, and I know that Jen had a great story about how she fooled our first-grade students. I love that story. Did not play in the disc golf tournament last Sunday. The poll, a large majority of you do not believe Travis parked his own truck where it was found near Canton Lake. Volume 5, I'm proofreading it right now. It's almost done. Going through all of my stuff and throwing away a lot of stuff. And as you know, I'm selling the piano so I can move. I'm down to 179 pounds, feeling great. Sue Burkwald from the Mary Lance case hung up on me. Lacy Buenfil, there's a lot of movement in that case now. Devin Brown-Bousset, a lot of things going on in that case that was pretty cold until the Trib covered it, and then it was featured on Unfound. That was a pretty cold case, but Wilshire is getting a lot done there, so I'm really happy about that. We talked about Maura Murray. We talk about Timothy Pitzen. We talk about the quadruple murder in Mandan, North Dakota, and I previewed Friday's case, or Friday's episode, which will be an update episode on many of Unfound's cases. I think you'll be interested to hear what's going on in many of them. So that's all I got. Layla says, I've read the details of the North Dakota story. Were the victims related to each other at all? I think a couple of them were related, but they weren't all related, Layla. D says, well, yeah, why not be worried? I would be freaked out. I'm sure you would, D. Carla says, it's always about love or money. Katrina says, just horrific that Tom Brown's murder is not solved yet, and more murders are happening in our area. Not saying I think there's a connection, but it's odd. Yeah, I guess, Katrina. Just gotta be safe out there. As I think a lot of you know, for the work that I do and everything, I take a gun with me everywhere. I'm a concealed carry person here in Florida. And so it's a jungle out there, and I try to remember that every time I go out that door right there. And I hope you all keep the same thought. Of course, here's a saying I haven't used in a while on this show. Got to keep your head on a swivel. Always got to know what's going around you. You're leaving the grocery store, walking out to your car. Be aware. Don't be on your phone, in your purse, looking through your stuff. Head up, looking all around, making sure nobody is following you. Got to be aware. So, Susan says they said no murder was found in North Dakota. Yeah, very strange, Sue. I don't know. Sheree, I'll also talk to Ladessa. I don't know who Ladessa is, Sheree, but I'm sure you're going to tell me. But I'm going to go. You'll have to tell me offline because I'm going to finish this up. I want to thank everybody who was wearing an Unfound shirt. Been selling some shirts recently. We have some new shirts in the Unfound store on my Shopify. Hope you'll check it out. Of course, for the Patreon people, you will be talking to me on Sunday night because we'll be talking about the update episode. And that's all I got. Thank you all. You can all keep talking. The forum will remain open even though I will be leaving. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. I appreciate it so much. And all of you take care. You'll be hearing me on Friday. Make sure you block out a lot of time for this episode. It's going to be a long one. Good night, everyone. I think I got to do it this way.